When the region Grunewald of Berlin's outskirts shows variations in the background field gravity, one may be lured into believing it is produced by the local geologic structure, but if we take it from the beginning, we shall see there are other interactions at play. The bedrock that was violently formed 10,000 years ago creates an introduction of the coming ruptures. The articulation and rhythm of sediment layers that forms during the Ice Age provides the foundation for constructions, and it takes us to a point of no return. As we continue upward the unfinished limestone facades, marble pillars and granite stairs supported with concrete introduces the underlying theme of interruptions and punctuations. The action rises as the ruins, although now covered with a mountain of rubble, retrospectively contaminates past eons. The shift is geologically paralleled in the blurring of the up and down direction. In alchemic processes, gravitational forces are reversed as fuel for flying. Glacial seal ensures survival of geotechnical phantasms. Projections onto Antarctic ices and ancient glaciers provide the comfort of infinity. The masses of gravel, broken and rubbled stone, piled by women. A turning point is reached as the buried ruins makes platform for domal structures, serving to focus or defocus longitudinal seismic waves. The positions shifted, but background radiation remains the same. Failure to contain an isolated environment results in leakage from the surrounding zone. Ice avalanches and melting ice caps expose empty pockets of air. The way the walls of the terraces also are paths indicates a movement upwards. By zigzag climbing, we follow the paragraph to the top. But knowing that the terraces affect the mountain in a landslide perspective, it also points out a direction downwards. We learned that too much water or weak walls around the terraces can cause entire areas to start moving. The hills are often steep, which increases the risk for slidings. The emphasis on the tension between the directions continues in the movements on another timescale. Limestones and sandstones, first formed in the sea, are later being found on top of the mountain as fossils. As a scheme, this displacement can also be read as a triple curve collapse. In a short recollection, however, we see how a small landslide at the top grows larger as the mass of the material increases, and thus escalates with higher and higher speed and energy. We were warned about the fragility in the scheme, so when the fog rolled in, we were not surprised. The filled terraces have saturated the air with moisture. When the air mass is forced higher by the steep elevation, it expands and cools adiabatically, raising the relative humidity to 100%, creating opaque clouds and precipitation. The reduction of visibility to a couple of meters overturns the spectating industry. We see how the fog resonates with shifts and upheavals of the past. Continuously assembled by diagenetic pressure. Eventually, the reversal is complete. The surrounding landscape and terrain swallows the energy of the landslide, and in the conclusion, it stops. Chechen Mountains, as in other of the same tradition, the enormous tension in the rock foundation that first formed the mountain was also the premise that set everything on its course. The shift from being a deep rift into high-altitude horst evokes landscape inversions and elements of dynamic foundations. The turn is duplicated in how the landscape transforms in migrations from valleys to mountains. This recent elevation attracts other strangers, with its thinner atmosphere that minimizes atmospheric turbulence, creating a better astronomical seeing. All this happens with the undertone of reforming rock units. It gets heavily deformed and foiled along the height of its back, in its strike direction, almost like a deck of cards. The relocation that resulted in a rock that is about 500 million years, lying next to one that is 1.5 billion years, is blurring the geological timeline, bending the linear span into the curved structure of time. The two formations of different origin compose an alloy of new unsurpassed capacity. The day turns night in the total solar eclipse that neutralizes its geomagnetic effects. The large valleys around Gothenburg, especially Göta älv Valley, introduces what the geologists call faults. Faults may create a displacement between two mountains, or even divide a mountain in two. The tension in the rock gorges and chasms marks the bedrock in Västra Götaland with a syntax of splits and ruptures, and it testifies of large fault movements in the area's history. The arranging and flattening of the landscapes when building the program sets unforeseen course of events in motion. When the area's hydrogeological flows reverse, water flows change directions, dry areas gets flooded, and vice versa. Seismic cubes repeated in a fractal patterns rises in an unreliable extension of the landmass. It projects itself above the surrounding, extracting coming values. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge induces severe tension between the continental plates, conveying us the approach of motion. As these divergent boundaries are forcing apart the enormous mountain ranges with 2 to 4 centimeters per year, the tensions are concentrated in weak zones with earthquakes as a result. The tremors are minor, but sometimes they intervene. Located at the highest point of this turbulent bedrock, the only substance preserved is a landfill of sinter and slag. It allows for new and larger tensions in the bedrock, increasing the risk of major faults and tremors. In the scuffle of the aftershock, the ground rules are forced to make a reversal, hovering above like the dot over the I.
gravity is a fundamental interaction, it decreases by approximately 0.000002 meters per square second with each meter you move upwards, away from the Earth's center.